Hello, let's play Wordle for Monday, July 20th. Yesterday we spun the wheel. It said to start with poppy. We're going to learn something interesting about peas, I think. We did indeed. We learned that not only is there not one pea, and there's not two peas, there's also not three peas. So we shouldn't try three peas in our next guess. All right. Common letters left. I mean, not too many. S-T-R-L-N. I think we'll just do one of the Saleh anagrams. I'm going to go with least today. That's what the bot seems to like these days. All right. The other bot, not the official one. The official one likes slate the best usually. Okay. So we have a yellow E. We could be an ER word. That would be nasty, starting with poppy and then dealing with an ER word, but it's possible. What letters do I want? Other than R, I'm going to see if I can avoid R in one more guess. I'm going to get as many consonants as I possibly can that aren't R, that might be, that are commonly involved in the first letter of an ER word. Now, it's only U or I left. We know it's not EER because there's no E second, so that's nice. But we could be IER, or we could be UER. So for IER, first letters, we got, so, actually, usually W and V are like big middle letters, but I think W with the U, W is mostly with the O, maybe the A. So it's really just V, but I want to avoid the V because we want to avoid getting locked into having this, especially if it's IVER. How many of those are there though? Anyway, we've got wider. I think wider is the only one with W. If we did use R, I might use it first for something like river, rider, that sort of thing. Or do I want to target the middle letter? I don't really know the best thing to do here. I think I'll probably target D, maybe K, maybe N. Like I could do an ED word just to get a D in there, even though it's not going to be an answer. I'm actually kind of at a loss, like what to do here. Maybe something like dine. No, dined is bad. I mean, if I did diner, would it be that bad? If I actually did the ER. I think if I was going to use an R, I'd use it first. I could do ridden. All right, we're going to give this a try and hope for the best. That's not a word. Ridden. Yeah, I guess ridden's not a word, is it? Where is it? Maybe it's double D. Oh, shoot, I can't do ridden then. Ridden. I want the K and the D if I can, but I don't know. Is there an I? Maybe something like biked. Or maybe UKED. Nuked. I think that gets good letters. I'm going to try nuked. All right. So, again, could be ER. We haven't disproven ER. But we have a D now. So I'm thinking wider, rider. If we figure out exactly how many there are, we can figure out how screwed we are. I think wider and rider are the two I'm seeing so far. Cider. So we have rider. We'd have to do the R first to test rider. Wider and cider. Bider, like someone who bides their time's a bider. A miter. I don't think so. But then there's also starting with D. There's diver. I don't think dimer is a word. Okay. Well, so we're worried about rider, wider, and cider. If it's just those three, I could just go right into it. Which one gets what was it? UDER? Or is it D? Oh no, there's no U anymore. It was diver. It was the V. None of them get the V. Why don't I go with I'm gonna go with cider because if it's something else, I think the C is the most useful letter. Okay, so I think it's diver then. There it is. Okay. Hopefully I made good choices there. It's always tough when you start with something like Poppy, where you don't get much info, and then I mean, I guess eliminating the P was nice, but yeah, it's like you gotta suspect the trap before you get into it. It might not have been, but I still think I made good decisions, and it did end up being that way. Before we do analysis, I'm interested to see if the bots have any clue what I was trying to do there. I'm going to spin the members wheel and see what tomorrow's starting word will be. Ooh, which one is it? Cobra, suggested by Kami, a patron. So if you would like to follow along, tomorrow we'll be starting with Cobra. And let's do some analysis. I am interested. So the answer was diver, and we started with Poppy. Poppy would have lost on this OY. So interestingly, not ER traps, but it would lose on this. This OY just has so many options, but it says Lori and Jolly. Like there's the Ollie trap, which is pretty bad, but then there's other ones too. So it's pretty nasty, but luckily it wasn't that trap. So it's just dealt here. It actually wants to get the D over doing something like least. I'm betting least actually loses on some cases. Let's see. It does. This might not be fully analyzed, but it loses on AER, IER, which it was, giver even. Yeah, I mean maybe with a bit more time to analyze, it would be able to figure out how to beat some of these cases. But all right. So now here it's suggesting, so there's 109 words left, which is a lot. It's suggesting niece, wince, or niche. So notice it isn't including an R. I did nuked. I don't. Let's see. So let's see if it says nuked loses on something. Yeah, nuked would lose on freed, wider, and rider. Oh. Huh. I thought I was fine though. Interesting. So I went right into cider. So there's 10 words left. I went right into cider, which it's saying would lose on something. So there's cider and dicer. So I think choosing the C was the right way to go because it gets dicer too. But maybe, I don't know. There's diver, which was the answer. Dryer, dweeb, edger, eider, and hider. So these are the two I didn't think of. Eider and hider. That's why it says you'd lose on cider. I don't know. I mean, hider seems weird. Someone who hides, a hider. Maybe someone who skins animals for their hides. And then eider, E-I-D-E-R. That sounds German. Oh, it's a large, heavy-set sea duck. All right. Huh. Imagine the day it's eider. Holy moly. All right. Well, I went cider, and it says, hey, that would have lost on some of the eiders. Luckily, it was just diver then. Yeah, if it had been like eider, I would not have won today. That's for sure. Hider also I didn't think of. It's interesting. All right. Yeah. Like I said, nasty trap. It says the way out is to do dweeb, which is interesting. Dweeb actually gets us, because we have that starting D, it gets us down to dicer, diver, and dryer. So it says go dicer or diver. But yeah, how does it get us out of... Oh, it gets the W, it gets the B. That's pretty... Well, the B isn't actually useful. Neither is the W, just for wider. So I'm trying to understand why dweeb works. Maybe it has to do with being able to follow up after. So if I change the answer to hider, for example, and we go dweeb, so it opened us up to be able to do another ED word, right? If the D got placed in the middle, like I did with cider, if the answer was hider and I did cider, the D's placed in the middle, right? We're stuck with IDER. We can't win. Well, it's a gamble, right? But with dweeb, we actually have another guess. Now we've narrowed it down that it is the eider trap, it's guaranteed. Then we can do something like ached, which gets cider and hider at once, or raced, which gets rider and cider at once. And once you have that, even if we do race and don't include the H, it's still just down to hider. And that's guess 6. So that's why dweeb was better, is because it didn't lock us into the trap. It gave us a little bit of info. Especially that starting D. Yeah, that starting D kind of splits it in half, doesn't it? That's the key thing. Without getting us trapped. So it's doing kind of the good strategy there. It says to do delt, which is huge because it gets you that D. And then from here, creed. Check double E. And then so notices it's avoiding using R. And now we're going to go right into the eider trap. So there's hider, rider, and wider left. We've gotten rid of cider. We've gotten rid of eider because we know there's not double E. So we're down to those 3, and it says now you can gamble on it. The answer wasn't actually hider though. The answer was diver. So we should go back. I think it's the same right now. Delt. Oh, with the green D though. Now we're just gonna do dicer. Okay. From dicer we're down to diner diver. So it could be as bad as 5, but yeah, interesting. Okay, glad I changed it back to diver because that wasn't the answer. All right, it starts with least, and with that one extra guess, we're able to do like what I did here. It says coned, so instead of nuked, coned is the way out. So I'm trying to figure out. So we're targeting the C and the N, and getting that D for free, right? With the ED word, instead of doing an ER word like coner, if that's a word. We do the ED, and that gets us that third consonant. That gets you that little bit of a leg up. And the C and the N, I guess, are very common in these ER traps that don't use the A or the E. All right. Now from coned, we're down to the nasty trap is the eider, hider, rider, wider. And it says get into it now, but check double R. Checking double R is important for dryer. I think that's it. Oh, the 2 dryers double R tells you about. So it gives you a little bit of an edge over these other ones. And then it's only diver from there. Okay. But it's saying, hey, get into it now because we have just enough guesses to not lose on the trap if we do get trapped. All right. How about steel starters? Again, an ED word coned. Same one, I think. So we're going to go dryer here. Interesting. It's a little bit different because of placement. Dryer, eider, or rider. So we could go right into, say, the rider to get diver, or we could do dryer, which gets diver, or eider gets diver. So it doesn't really matter which one you do. All right. How about adieu starters? Oops. It says go cider immediately. Interesting. Yeah, it's like, hey, let's get in. If we get into the trap now, we're fine, is what it's saying. And now we're down to diner diver. So 3 or 4. Audio. We're gonna go diner. Just get into it right away, and then, oh, I guess it's the interesting. Diner actually doesn't get into that IDER. And then we're down to dicer diver. So it's a 3 or a 4. It did not suggest it for 2. Stare, another common starting word. We're gonna have that ER right at the start, but we're gonna avoid putting it we're gonna avoid locking it at green. We're gonna do rebid. With rebid, you'd think we're fine with 4 yellows, but there's 9 words left and they're very trappy. So we got to get into dicer right away. And then from dicer, we do diner diver. So we get a 4 or 5. Pert, highest chance to get in 2. Doesn't it's got a 1 in 165 today, so probably not. It's going to go ridge, which also doesn't get it in 2. And from here, we're in this dicer diner diver. So it's a 3, 4, or 5. And finally, tarps is what the official bot starts with. Again, don't do ER. It's not gonna trap that R at the end. It's gonna do riled, get that D for free. And then we're down to cider, diner, diver, something like that. All right. Well, let's check the official bot. I think we're gonna have. I mean, it's IER. We're gonna have some Campbell cheese. Although I don't think the Ivor is as bad. The Ivor trap is as bad as some of the others, but yeah, I'm curious what the results will be here. We got to grab our screenshot first. It's always scary when you start with such a bad start, and it is one of the nasty traps. What was the answer? Diver. Okay. Talking about too many words at once. Alrighty, it gave me a 92 skill. I thought I'd take a bigger hit on skill because of the ED word, but so after Poppy, it liked least actually. It's just it actually liked Trace better than Trace, Raise, Crate, Slate. So yeah, it likes Slate a little bit better than least. See, a lot of Salets. We've got Slate, Steel, Stare, Stale, Stern, Trace, Least, Salet. Salet also gets a 99. The bot doesn't consider guessing it though. Sometimes it gets a 101 because it's better. Snarl's here. Now, who did best? Stale did best, interestingly. Oh no, sorry. Snarl did best. Hey, that is one reason to do Snarl, isn't it? If you really just need to get those consonants out. Although, yeah, what's nice about Snarl is, yeah, you've got the R, but you haven't locked in the E yet. Okay, so Snarl did really well. That's interesting. Who did worst? Stern did the worst. So that's because it's got E and R in it. Okay. It gave me a 98 for least. It gave a 72 for nuked. It would have preferred cider. It doesn't care about traps is the issue. It's not looking ahead to see that cider can lose. So if we look, yeah, look at this trap here. Let's find the eider here. So see how there's 4 guesses left. Rider, wider, eider, hider. So if we went cider here, there'd be 4 guesses afterwards with only 3 options. And this bot does not care. It's just looking at the bucket count. And the bucket count is a little bit, is significantly better actually. Right? And it's like, oh, this is a better guess. But it's not looking and seeing, by the way, this is why ED words aren't considered likely. We're not going to get into that bucket. But if we look at the 4 green here, this case here, this is what disqualifies it as a guess, is that there's a bucket that loses. I'm not convinced this bucket is fine. I mean, these buckets were actually, the buckets I made, some of them are pretty nasty too, like this one. This one's pretty nasty. All right, anyway. So save a 72 for that. And then now cider, it says is good. Although even here, this is where I made the mistake, right? If it had been IDER, there was also eider and hider. There's still 4 left here, but it's still rated at a high skill, even though this bucket will lose 40% of the time. I'm going to get into a situation where I can't guarantee a win. All right. That's why I don't like this bot too much on hard mode, at least. Tarps cried wider, diner, diver. Okay. 0.3 starting with diver. 3.7, 25.2, 58.4, 83, 95.8. People losing on river, giver, diner, dicer, dimer, fiver. Yeah, if it had been IDER instead of IVER, I think we would have had more losses, especially if it was eider. I think that if the eider really is going to be the answer one day, that's going to be a nasty day for everybody. I have to remember that word. There's so much to remember in this game. So I'm going to analyze here. What was it was diver, right? Yeah, it was diver. Pulling up the image. Still gave me a 92 skill. So people did Slate, Steel, Stern, Trace, Adieu, Shart, Later, Gamer, Sarah, Least. Who did best? Adieu did best. That's interesting. Oh, because of the D. Adieu always does better when you have the D. All right. Wow, these are all 4.0s. Yeah. Okay. Then nuked. So we already looked at all this. Slate, diner, diver. Wow, lucky. Okay. 0.5 starting with diver. 3.8, 21.3, 51.4, 77.8, 93.4. Yeah. Dimer, dicer, diner, diker, river, giver, direr. You got to wonder about this. The R is not anywhere near the V, so it's not a typo. I mean, I guess there's some people who have the DIER locked in, right? If they're guess 6 and they can't think of diver and they're going QWER, they're trying to etch each letter and R comes up way before V does. But come on, at least think about the words first. All right, anyway. Dire people losing on dire. I'm throwing shade. I mean, I guess direr is a word. Like it's a more dire situation. It's direr. All right. Anyway, I guess so. Well, how'd you do?